Welcome to another InkdMage preview. Let's take a look at what we have. We have 3 sets from the Dungeons & Dragons Magic the Gathering Adventures in Forgotten Realms, including the Adventuring Starter Pack, LOLF the Spider Queen, or LOLF if you like, and laugh out loud, the Spider Queen. All right, and we've got Companions of the Hall starter set. We also have something I'm extremely excited about. I ran the playtest, for my group before this was published for Waterdeep Dragon Heist. Sure wish I had these minis back then, but this is a great incentive for me to run it again for a new group. So let's take a closer look at these. Let's start with this iconic villain, LOLF, or Loth, L-L-O-T-H, if you're out of the Forgotten Realms. At least that's how it was done in old school. So let's see this miniature. It's not really a miniature. It's quite big, befitting this beloved villain in D&D. Let's get a miniature up next to, and I'll put the miniature right on the base. You can see how large she is. And how cool, look at, she has her 8 legs. She has spiders crawling over her in various places. Look, you can see it's like kind of a hairy back, a hairy spotted back. But she's a pallid spider queen. And if you are running an adventure in the Underdark, maybe a Drow campaign, or perhaps Out of the Abyss, or any homebrew game where she would be an ultimate adversary at the end of your campaign, what a terrific figure. Really cool to have her as part of the collection. And again, look how beautiful that lovely clear base is. I go on and on about them, don't I? Next up, let's look at the Magic the Gathering Adventures in the Forgotten Realms Adventure Starter Pack. We have a really cool Dragonborn here. And so this Dragonborn has a bit of a different look than normal. I love the armor, love the shield. This makes a great fighter or paladin, but look, Dragonborn don't usually have tails. I know some people like doing that, and I really don't mind it either way, but there's a tail. Look at the dinted up shield with the score marks from hard fighting. You have some sort of enchanted blade here. If you don't like that, you could paint it. I think it's pretty cool. It's got good stature. Let's, again, compare to another mini, and you can see stature befitting a Dragonborn, who are usually portrayed as tall. Next, I really like this Eliwick Tumblestrum. It's a good name. Look, she's playing an instrument. She's got a little frog or toad on her shoulder. And God bless her. You can just see she's singing her heart out. Foot up on a little tree stump. So let's see how that looks. See, with the map underneath that you can see through. I love my halflings. So this is a really nice addition, especially having one that is, not a thief or a fighter, but to have a bard. I do love bards. This is a UNT rogue. And I would certainly use this as a villain, an assassin perhaps, in a city environment. He's got that purple scale, the purple scales, which, is nature's way of warning you that he's dangerous to be avoided at all costs. This is a named figure, Hama Pashar. And I guess this would be a cleric or a wizard of some sort. I could really see this as being a high priestess in a temple, and maybe that's what she is. I'm not familiar with this character, but I love the magic emanating from the symbol on top of her stave. She's rather regal looking. For me, this would be a great NPC. Perhaps an ally, most likely an ally for heroes of noble heart. This is an elf ranger, Varus Silverymoon. Now, the only Varus elf I knew with blonde hair and a green cloak came from, back in 4th edition, there was a great comic book series for Dungeons and Dragons, and Varus was a elf, but he used a couple hand axes and bows. I don't know if this is supposed to be the same character, maybe a different iteration of him, but you see he's down tracking. Fortunately, he has a clear base, so he can look down and see any signs of passage. I think this is a really nice pack to add to your collection of perhaps villains or players, and certainly players and NPCs. So, if you've been a D&D fan for a while, it's probably pretty hard not to know who these characters are. Of course, R.A. Salvatore's iconic characters from the Drizzed series, and we have Drizzed himself leaping through the air with the greatest of ease, brandishing his scimitars, Twinkle and Ice, always backed up by his friend and boon companion, Guinevere, or Guinevere, rather. I like it. They're both like really dynamic poses, and with those nice sturdy bases, they're not going to break off. You just see how exciting those poses are. Guinevere is also a great mini to use if you're a druid and you transform into creatures, or a ranger like Drizzed who has an animal companion. Speaking of companions, so this is Wolfgar. He's from a barbarian tribe that Drizzed took in to meet Brunar Battlehammer, and was trained to be a smith by the dwarf and had a fight by the drow. This is kind of cool. I mean, he's got a really cocky expression. Let's see, can we get a close-up? Look at that. It's like, yeah, he's smiling like, yep, I'm gonna break some orc skulls today. This is the massive hammer, Aegis Fang, right, that he made under the tutelage of Brunar Battlehammer. So whether you're playing in Icewind Dale and you want to use him as an NPC, or look at the guns on him, you want to play a massive barbarian, this is an excellent figure to use. So let's take a look at Brunar. Now, clearly Brunar has been in a battle. He's lost a horn on his helmet. But I love his dwarvish axe and his pose. He's all the, him and Drizzed and Guinevere especially are really poised for battle. There's the symbol from Mithril Hall. A foaming mug of ale. I read these when I was very young. One day I'll revisit them, give them a shot, see if they stand up to the test of time. Like he's got braids in his hair, his beard hair. And here's Catterbury, the adopted daughter of Brunar. And I believe that she had some love interest, but that I would mention, that I thought, you know what, I'm gonna go spoiler free. So this is really good mini for, again, if you're using her for who she is, or if you want to play a ranger or an archery-based fighter, perhaps an arcane archer. The companions of the hall. kind of a D&D collector's dream to see these all put out in a nice package and with great minis. Let me just start with my favorite one. This is a character from Waterdeep Dragon Heist, Yella Grolland, and her husband, Orand Grolland, right behind her. But you could use this again and again in countless situations. Maybe if your hero is going to a ball and dresses up nice, or as an NPC, a patron, or a villain. She's got, look at the little detail on her dress, some stitch work, embroidery, and again, around the neckline, or breast line. And her husband with his finely manicured facial hair and an emerald brooch. Look. Again, it's always good to have a lot of nobles. And if you're playing Waterdeep Dragon Heist, the Grollands are characters that you are going to want to have. Really was looking forward to this one. And this is a Nimblewright. Now you could use this exactly for what it is in that campaign, or in another campaign, or maybe you could use this as a swashbuckler rogue warforged. I think it's really fantastic. Perhaps he falls in love and with someone named Roxanne, and you could play a warforged Cyrano de Bergerac sort. Instead of a big nose, his problem is that he's made of metal. What an interesting character that would be. Here's Saith Cromley. I forget. It's been a couple of years since I ran this. But I think he is an inspector of the watch or something. And that would make sense because he's got his ledger and he's taking notes. If you remember who he is, remind me in the comments below, but it's just a really good NPC. Again, he could be a scribe, you could use him as a scribe, you could use him as an inspector, maybe a reporter for the Sharn Inquisitive. Here's Barnabas Blastwind. And again, you have to forgive me, I forget who these characters are, but now that I have all these, I really will want to revisit this campaign. And the great thing about the campaign is there are 4 different seasons in it, so you could play it 4 different times and have different outcomes. Here's a Drow Gunslinger. Now they modeled these after the artwork in the campaign book. So that's really one of the nice parts about this. You have the references in the book, but then you could drop down miniatures that are exactly the characters that you need. Look at those red eyes, the studded leather. This is a terrific pack, and I'm gonna slide this guy forward because he came, and I'll show you at the end, he came off his base. Easily fixed with a little bit of crazy glue. And I'm only pointing that out because WizKids really make sure they're securely packed. So you have to be a little more careful than I was getting him out. And I guess I was a little overzealous because I was so looking forward to this. So this is Erstal Floxen, and he's a character. I don't want to give anything away, but I do remember his role in the campaign. Look at, he's got a charred, burned face on one side. This would be great for an NPC outside of that campaign for your own homebrew game, but what a cool character this would be if you were playing a rogue with some sort of backstory. Perhaps when you were young, you survived a red dragon attack. It's entirely up to you, but I'll show you now so you can see. He came off his base, and just with a little bit of glue, he'll go back on and stay on. All right, this is probably the pack everybody's most interested in. Here is the dwarf Oranax. There's something unusual about him. I won't say what. My wife was already suspicious because she said he didn't look like a dwarf, but I assured her he is a dwarf. Love his gold robes. I mean, this could be a cleric, a wizard, a sorcerer. Look at that detail on his belt, and the robes, and the intertwined dragon stave. Love this mini because, you know, this is a mini that I don't have anything like this, so I certainly didn't. I had to use the best that I had when the time came in my test play for this game. This one is very cool. So it's this Mind Flayer Nihilure. And check out, look, he's got his little creature, right? That he's petting, stroking its brain-like body, like Dr. Evil does with his hairless cat. It's a pretty cool mini. Look at those sinister green eyes. Excellent, excellent. And if you've played through the game, you know exactly who this is. Here's a classic villain that goes back to Ari Salvatore's story. Jaraxel Benair, or Beanray, however you say it. Everybody always seems to say things different. Look, he's a rogue. Looks like he's got spurs on, a feathered hat. And so he's a drow. He's got an eye patch. Look, you can see that kind of rakish expression and pose. He is ready for battle. So there's 4, you know, again, villains, you know, depending on the season. And Jaraxel is one. You have Manshun, who is another. Look at the arcane energy. He's got his Drake that he's looking at, perhaps whispering secrets to. I really don't know much about Manshun. I did not run the season where Manshun was the villain. I ran one where Xanathar was. But all the same, this is a great mini to use as is, who he's intended to be, or for a player character, or just a villain that you make up. Now, maybe you want to do a Avengers themed D&D campaign. Look at, he's got like a gauntlet on. This could be like the Infinity Gauntlet. And this could be your villain. This could be the Thanos of your campaign, right? Excellent mini. This is an excellent pack. I'm so happy. So WizKids put out their mini series, Dragon Heist Waterdeep, and you have both of these characters in them, and these are the Castellanters, Victoro and Amalia, and they come in different clothes, similar, you know, similar shape and design and everything, but the painting is different. And Victoro in this figure, you know, for this pose, has a blade drawn. But these are really, I love having noble minis. And what's great about these, the fact that they are painted differently, means if you wanted to have a big scene with a bunch of nobles, you could include the ones from this set, and you could include the ones from the series, the Waterdeep Dragon Heist series. So I love having these, and these are kind of key figures in the campaign. In fact, they represent one of the villains. And now I keep doing those air quotes because everything isn't clear cut and black and white. So, you know, who may be a villain may also be an ally, and maybe they're not entirely a villain. You know, it's just there's some area to play around in there. So you have two minis here, really. This is Siglar, the beta fish, right? He's a beta fish of Xanathar. And I love how I don't have a Xanathar Beholder mini. So this is fantastic. Looks incredible. And he has a much different look than the other Beholders that have been made before. But what's really cool is if you notice, look at how much room is on his base. And that is so you can put the fish on the base. And then look, it's like Xanathar is looking at it. They offset his eye just enough so that he's looking at it. So let's recap these sets. You have Icons of the Realm, Waterdeep Dragon Heist Set 1, and comes with incredible NPCs from that story. And the same goes for Icons of the Realm, Waterdeep Dragon Heist Set 2. So if you are, whether you're running it, Waterdeep Dragon Heist or not, these are minis that you know you will find plenty of use for. Maybe you don't play in Forgotten Realms, but you just like Beholders. Well, here you have Beholder. Maybe your Beholder doesn't have a fish and a tank, but this becomes a piece of set dressing. But it could become a piece of set dressing either way, even if you do play the campaign adventure, and then when you're done, you use it for something else. We also went over Loth, the Spider Queen, and I think you'll agree that she is an incredible mini and ultimate adversary for perhaps the end of your campaign. For just D&D fans and collectors, you know, the Companions of the Hall is a terrific set, but I do think they have versatile use because you can use these for your own player characters, you know, not as these iconic figures, but you could also use them as the iconic figures as NPCs. And then last but not least, the Adventuring Party starter set for Forgotten Realms. So I love these minis, particularly the Waterdeep Dragon Heist, because I am going to revisit that campaign, and I'm really excited about having the miniatures to put out on the table when the time is right. If you like them, make sure to pre-order them or pick them up at your favorite mom and pop shop. And please follow me for extra XP on Instagram.